I mean, Dr. Kobe Champon, is the concept of the middle class being the kingmakers in Ghana's elections, is it an exaggerated concept, or is one that it's a pretty real one?
Yeah, I suppose you meant Kobby Mensah, right?
Sorry, Dr. Kobe Mensah, yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Evans, and good evening to everybody. Yes, obviously, the middle class is not exaggerated. Mostly political parties that tend to be on the center right, just like Theo actually explained, uh, largely appeal to what we call the middle class. Why are they appealing to the middle class? Because just like you said in your analysis, these are parties which usually give freedom to the individual. And as a result, people who have dreams, who have aspirations, who see themselves as wealth makers tend to actually be at that side of the population. And so most of the center-right political parties immediately actually connect with that particular group of people. And so, rightly said by in your analysis and by Theo, if you look at the character of the NPP and then the kind of people they actually connected to, certainly that's where the fault lines are going to be. I mean, if you look at coming to the elections, for example, most of the time, every political party, and per my PhD thesis, for example, I saw that in the 2000 elections, which it was about President Kufuor's elections, most political parties come into the elections with their base, all right? So the political party is coming with its activity, with its support bases, etc. And then you have the political candidate and the policy as the two connecting points to build alliances. Because most of the time, the party's character is not able to build alliances because of the ideological divide. So you build alliances or you build allies with the candidate and the policy choices that you have. So the candidate attribute is able to connect a certain group of people who necessarily or may not necessarily be part of your ideological core. But because of the attribute of the political candidate, they are able to come to your fold and, of course, vote for you. The same with your policy. So when you look at the 2016 elections, the reason why we put Dr. Bawumia very much at the forefront of the NPP was because that was the candidate that could build those alliances or those allies for the NPP's win. And then, of course, the policy positions that the party took. So you realize that for the NPP to be able to connect to the top middle class, as Theo actually spoke about, as the floating voters, they may not necessarily be to the left or to the right. They're actually making choices based on the campaign, the reality of the campaign. Who is singing exactly the hymns that they want to hear? Who do they believe in? And immediately you are able to use this, the candidate, and then, of course, the policy to connect, they vote for you. And that's why it is very, very dicey for the NPP as at now. Now, you asked the question whether there's a political cost. I will give you a very simple formula in marketing. We call it expectation confirmation theory. Now, Theo talked about the kinds of aspirations people had, especially coming to the 2016 election. And then he said that if you do polls now, how are we going to, or what kind of response are we going to have? Now, if you look at people's expectation that they had for this particular administration, and if you look at their perceived performance, so for example, let's say expectations, perceived performance is 5, expectations was 10. If you minus the perceived performance 5 from the expectation 10, what do you get? Or if you minus the the perceived performance 5, the expectation 10 from the perceived performance 5, you get negative 5, all right, as the satisfaction or the dissatisfaction, which is dissatisfaction. So currently, if you ask me, it is a huge issue for the NPP administration, because at least before they came to power, we knew haircut only from the barbershop. All right. I am sure quite a lot of people did not know anything about debt restructuring, unless, of course, you were a finance student or you were a banking person. But now all these lexicons are appearing in our political system right now as we speak. That is going to be kind of a legacy based on which people are going to express their feelings towards the particular regime. So yes, huge cost. And then, of course, it depends on whether they will be able to mitigate it. But I thought that it would be difficult because if you go back to history, President Kufuor's time, for example, the Kufuor gallons, I don't think people forgot. When he moved people from the prisons, I don't think it helped. If you look at Dumso, for example, Mahama solved it. At the later part of the 2016 election, did they forgive him? They didn't. So you do the math.
Yeah.